You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hello, and thanks for joining Revolution 250, where we look at events that took place 250 years ago this week. This is from the American Revolution Podcast, just a short bonus episode to remind you about these important anniversaries from the Revolutionary War. This week, we remember the arrival of the Riflemen to the Continental Army and other events from the week of July 23rd, 1775. Before we get to that, a quick word from our sponsor. The siege of Boston continued through the last week of July. The big event for the Continentals was the arrival of a company of riflemen from Pennsylvania on July 25th. Most of the army was armed with muskets, which have a very short effective range. Riflemen from the Pennsylvania frontier were kind of seen as rock stars in the army. They were able to pick off a target from more than 100 yards away, some of them even several hundred yards. These were also the first volunteers to arrive at the siege from outside of New England. Weeks earlier, the Continental Congress had called on Pennsylvania and Virginia to send companies of riflemen to join the Continental Army. That same day, July 25th, Congress appointed the physician, Benjamin Church, to be the first Surgeon General of the Continental Army. Church had been a member of the Sons of Liberty in Boston and served on the Committee of Safety that prepared Massachusetts for war. He also served on the Massachusetts Provincial Congress. Several men, including Paul Revere, objected to Church's appointment. They suspected him of being a British agent who was providing intelligence to the British Army in Boston. Sadly, several months later, these suspicions would prove correct. But for now, Church began to organize the medical corps on behalf of the new army. The following day, July 26th, Congress appointed Benjamin Franklin as the Postmaster General of the new Post Office Department for America. Franklin had already served as Postmaster General during the colonial era under British authority from the King's Privy Council, but he lost his appointment a year earlier when the British believed he was working with the troublemakers back in the colonies. Franklin would also only hold this job for a few months. In his case, it was because he would later take on too many other responsibilities, and he passed the job on to his son-in-law. Back in New York, on July 27th, the Green Mountain Boys voted to oust Ethan Allen as their commanding officer. Instead, they elected Seth Warner to take command. The unit was being incorporated as a regiment into the Continental Army, and they seemed to prefer Warner's leadership to Ethan Allen's rather wild and chaotic leadership. The following day, back at the Siege of Boston, a British deserter gave some interesting news, which circulated around the American camp, that General William Howe had taken command of the British Army from the former military commander General Thomas Gage, who was still serving in a civilian capacity as Massachusetts governor. This rumor proved to be incorrect. Gage remained in command as military commander through most of the fall. I hope you've enjoyed this Revolution 250 moment. For more of the story, please visit your favorite podcast platform, including Apple or Spotify, and subscribe for free to the American Revolution Podcast.